In this video, we'll discuss distributing a monomial over a polynomial. In this first problem, our monomial is going to be the 2x, and our polynomial that we are going to be distributing it to is going to be our 3x squared minus x plus 2. Remember, when you distribute, you must give that outside monomial to every single term inside the parentheses. So to start off, I would take my 2x and I'm going to multiply it through to my 3x squared, essentially giving or multiplying that together. That would give me a 2x times a 3x squared, which would give me a solution of 6x cubed. I can then give that 2x to my minus x term. I'm going to multiply those and think in my head 2x times a negative x. When I multiply that, it gives me a minus 2x squared. And lastly, the 2x needs to get distributed all the way to the plus 2 at the end. That gives me a 2x times 2. When I do that multiplication, I get plus 4x. From here, I look to combine like terms and make sure my final solution is written in standard form with my highest exponent first all the way to my lowest, which it is, so that would be my final answer. For the second problem, we are distributing a negative 3m squared, and we're giving it to each term of our binomial 3m plus 2. So I'll be multiplying the 3m squared to the 3m. So in my mind, this is the math I'm doing. 3m squared times 3m. When I multiply, the product of those is a negative 9m cubed. Next, I take my negative 3m squared and distribute it to my positive 2. That math would be negative 3m squared times 2. When I do that product out, I get minus 6m squared. Again, I look to make sure my answer is written in standard form with my highest exponent first and my smallest last. And it is, so that would be my final solution. In this third example, we're combining distributing a monomial and addition and subtraction of polynomials. If we take a look here, we have this x squared term that's already by itself. There's no number in front of it being multiplied, so that just gets brought down by itself. The distributing will happen with our minus 3x. So before I get started, I'm just going to write my my x squared down here at the bottom, part of my solution. When I start to distribute this negative 3x, remember I'm going to give it to each term within the parentheses next to it. The reason I know I must distribute this is because the operation between the 3x and the parentheses is multiplication. So that's why we multiply. So I distribute my negative 3x to the x, and for that I'm finding the product of negative 3x times x, which is minus 3x squared. The next product I need to take, or the next distribution, is going to be to distribute the negative 3x to the positive 4. That would be to find the product of negative 3x times 4. That's equal to negative 12x. With this problem, I'm not done. Unlike our other problems, we have more work to do because we are not written in simplest form. So we need to combine our like terms, and in this case, our x squared and our 3x squared. Our minus 12x is all by itself there, no like term to combine. So my final solution would be equal to a negative 2x squared minus 12x. Our fourth example is the more complex and is definitely the longest. But again, go back to your basic rules. If I take a look at my first polynomial function, or first polynomial expression, there's nothing to distribute to that. There's nothing that I'm combining with it right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite it as is. X squared plus 4x minus 2. So now I get to the 4x squared times x minus 1. So this is the first time where I have to distribute. Remember, I'm taking this monomial of 4x squared and I'm multiplying it through this binomial x minus 1. So to do that, each term of my binomial must get an 4x squared. So I'm going to find the product of 4x squared times x, which gives me plus 4x cubed. Then I distribute the 4x squared to my minus 1. So I'm finding the product of 4x squared times a negative 1. When I multiply that, I get minus 4x squared. And now I don't have to distribute this 4x squared to the plus 5. This plus 5 at the end is outside of our parentheses. So therefore, it does not receive the 4x squared. So it just gets put in at the end as a plus 5. From here, I look to combine all of my like terms. Now this is not written in standard form. I see my highest exponent here is an x cubed, which I'll circle that first. That would be written first. Next, I have x squareds. There's an x squared, and I have a negative 4x squared. I have a 4x here, but no other x's to combine with it. And lastly, I have a minus 2 and a plus 5. So to figure out my final answer, I want to write it in standard form. So I start off with my 4x cubed. Now I need to combine my x squared terms. So I have an x squared minus 4x squared, which is equal to 3x squared. So minus 3x squared. My x term was all by itself as a plus 4x. In the last term, to combine my constants, I have a negative 2 plus 5, which is plus 3. So this would be my final simplified answer written in standard form.